As she evaluated the impressive package, Lauren's internal conflict raged. It was hard to deny her own alcohol-fueled hunger and the feeling of lust. Alex's assertive, demanding nature was off-putting, contrasting so sharply with her usual type, yet it was uniquely alluring. Still, she knew she shouldn't be here. Why did she agree to walk home with him? How did this happen so quickly? She'd have to answer to her girlfriends, and herself, in the morning. But that inconvenient truth was less pressing now, a future responsibility she didn't have to face head-on tonight. Disrupting her thoughts, she felt Alex's hand on the back of her head. She glanced hesitatingly at him, drawing an assuring nod in response. Gradually, yet purposefully, he pushed her head down. The pressure of Alex's hand on her head was the only remaining encouragement she needed. Yes. That's it, Alex encouraged, just focus on it, girl. In the back of her mind, she was offended by the comment and paused briefly. She was not one to be told what to do, certainly not in the bedroom. But before she could give this slight a serious consideration, Alex pulled her downward. She lost herself in a haze. Alex exhaled loudly, commenting, "Oh yes. I need this," wrapping his fingers tightly against her head in pleasure. For a few minutes they stayed like that, Alex reclining back against the couch and Lauren in front of him. Finally Lauren felt Alex pull her up. Tilting her head up towards his, Alex said, "Let's read some interesting books," before proceeding to kick off his shoes. Lauren was slightly out of breath, but noticing the spots already on the tank top, she felt Alex's eyes roam her body. "Stand up," he directed and gestured in front of the couch. Locking eyes with him, Lauren replied, "No, Alex. I can't," her voice almost pleading. I'll finish you instead," she said hesitantly. As the protestation left her lips, she realized she hadn't even convinced herself. Alex certainly wouldn't buy it. Ignoring her response, Alex leaned forward, pulling her towards him. The suddenness of his move surprised her and she gasped audibly at the sensation. "Oh. God. The book is so interesting," Lauren moaned loudly. After a few moments, he withdrew, smiling as Lauren bit into his lip, evidence of her growing need. "Let's read this book," Alex commanded and leaned back into the couch. Now, Lauren rose and stood in front of him. There was a hesitancy to her movements as she revealing herself to a new man. Alex twirled his finger and understanding his request she turned around. She'd worn it because it was one of Andrew's favorites. Bending over she pushed her pants to the floor before stepping out of them. She knew she was on display as an object for illicit admiration, but still felt a sense of pride at his reaction. Lauren liked nice guys, that was her thing. Andrew was nothing if not a gentleman. But Alex, he was different. He wore his cards on his sleeve. And it felt good to be so brazenly wanted. Almost good enough to assuage her guilt. Pulling Lauren towards him, Alex placed a gentle kiss on her back and wrapped a hand around each full cheek. Without being asked, she bent gradually at the feeling of his warm breath against her skin. Slowly he began to caress her heart-shaped figure, running a single long digit along her outer folds. "Damn, that book looks tight." He then moved backwards. "Excuse you," she meagerly protested. Laughing softly, he countered, "Don't be shy, girl. This book is beautiful." Leaning forward, Alex started reading a book to her, eliciting another spasm of surprise from Lauren. Out of the corner of her eye, she caught a brief glimpse of him smiling. Then, apparently satisfied for now, he stopped reading the book. Alex turned her back around and continued reading the book. "Now that looks better. Back down." Lauren glanced downward. She knelt in front of him and started looking in the book. His presumptive, selfish manner was evident, yet it carried an unmistakable air of proven confidence. As if he could read her conflicting thoughts, Alex urged her head back downwards. Holding Lauren's head, Alex slowly started reading the book. After a few minutes, they found a good rhythm. The room filled with the sound of Lauren's reading. Exhaling loudly, Alex remarked, "That's right. Read that again." Struggling to maintain the pace, one set by Alex, Lauren barely heard his words. She could do little. She wasn't a book lover. Certainly, Andrew had never called her one. They had been together for nearly a year and she'd read with him a few times. Yet she wasn't with Andrew. She was reading books with stranger in his living room. As if to reinforce the situation, Alex said that she was very good at reading. "Come on now," said Alex, looking down at Lauren as he liked her reading for. She was clearly near her limit. Her eyes fluttered upwards and caught his gaze. "Read that moment again. I like it very much," he directed, the firmness of his tone giving little room for ambiguity. Lauren continued reading. She tried to stop reading, but Alex held her in place. After a few seconds, she recovered and drew a short breath. Pushing Lauren's head downward, Alex asked her to read the next page, grunting in satisfaction as he loved her reading very much. "Heck, that's good," he exclaimed. Lauren was struggling to maintain her position. She could feel her eyes watering as she read the book, because the plot was really heartbreaking, her body's growing demand for oxygen. Nonetheless, she was proud to have elicited such a reaction from Alex. She had no illusion as to how other girls was reading with him. Undoubtedly many of them on this same couch. He had pushed her beyond her limit and she had performed. The book was really good, goddamn, girl. Alex remarked, his voice filled with admiration and pleasure. He held her, enjoying watching the young woman who was previously so reluctant yet now was so eager. "Read another page for me." Lauren pulled up, as she gasped for air. Her chest heaving as her lungs fought to absorb as much oxygen as possible. The plot of the story was really interesting. Distantly and through the sound of her own labored breathing, Lauren heard the rattle of keys against a door and the sound of footsteps. "Jesus, Alex, you've got a room, man." A new voice rang in her ears. Alarmed, she quickly looked across the room to see a young, casually dressed man standing in the doorway of the main room. She moved to get up but felt Alex firmly grip her shoulders. Alex responded, "Well, I like the reading on the couch better. And we hadn't moved yet." Lauren didn't fail to notice the implied assumption that they would be retiring to a back bedroom. "I can tell," the friend replied sarcastically, gesturing towards Lauren. "Right, sorry." Alex laughed. "Steve, this is Lauren. Lauren, this is Steve." Lauren couldn't have put into words the embarrassing nature of the situation. Reaching over for her top that had been haphazardly tossed aside just minutes before, she managed a quiet greeting. "Hi." She hurriedly pulled the top as she felt an encouraging squeeze on one of her shoulders. Steve gestured a brief wave before looking back at his roommate. He commented, "I'm making myself a drink," and proceeded into the kitchen. Lauren looked up at Alex as he responded, "Sounds good," loud enough so Steve could hear. Immediately she began to rise up, yet her body ached for release. She felt tired because of reading. Her continued silence was the hesitation Alex was expecting. "We'll go back in my room." His words clearly formed as a statement rather than a question. Standing, Alex began to help Lauren. Startled, she did not even consider resisting, her mind still conflicted with how she'd ended up in this situation. As Alex pulled her into the kitchen, she made a half-hearted attempt to grab the coat. "Alex, I need to cover up." "No, you don't. It's just down the hall." Still sitting back against the couch, Alex assured her. "Don't worry, he'll be back in his room soon." Yet Steve's abrupt entry had brought home the gravity of the situation for Lauren. "I shouldn't be here," she commented. "I don't know how I let it go reading books with you." Leaning forward, Alex tilted her head back towards his. "It's fine. No one will know. Besides, you're here, and you're clearly enjoying reading." Lauren withdrew slightly but let out an audible gasp and glanced back at him. Alex nodded. "That's what I thought. You like reading with me, right?" Her emotions were torn. Her responsible, good-headed nature said she had gone too far already. The alcohol running through her had curbed her inhibitions too much. She should leave now, and his roommate's interruption was the perfect excuse to simply grab her things and go. Yes, mistakes were made and maybe things got a little out of hand, but she was right. She could still argue to herself that she hadn't betrayed Andrew. It was just a little hiccup on her way home. Then, grasping her hand in his and gesturing with his head, Alex led her out of the room. Within a few moments, Lauren found herself in the well-lit kitchen where Steve was busy making a drink. She flushed with embarrassment as he looked up at them, his eyes scanning her. Clearly indifferent to the situation, Alex let go of her hand and poured another beverage as she stood waiting for him. Gesturing to Lauren, he said, "I told her you wouldn't mind, right, Steve?" Eliciting a soft chuckle from his roommate and a shake of the head. She couldn't help but feel strange. Yet she felt a sense of pride and thrill at her selection. Finally, drink complete, he pointed towards the back hallway and allowed Lauren to slide past. "Damn, that looks good. The book is really interesting," Alex remarked as she hurried into the open bedroom off of the hall. Lauren stepped into the half-lit room, relieved at the return to privacy. It was well appointed, clean and dominated by a large, low-lying bed in the center of the space. Suddenly, Alex's strong hand was on her arm, spinning her. They decided to play some table games. "Get up on the bed." She began to lay back before he interrupted. She hesitated, never having played table games, unsure how to proceed. Alex waited, taking a pull from his drink and smiling down at her. Lauren tilted her head forward, and they started playing a game. Alex watched with satisfaction as Lauren, she was on his bed, playing cards with him. After a moment, Alex abruptly finished his drink and, approaching the bed, came closer to her. Suddenly, she gasped as she understood that she has bad cards. "Damn, seems like you're losing," Alex said with a soft chuckle. "You really need to win, don't you?" Lauren didn't respond but pushed back. "Show me your cards, I think I won the game." Lauren hesitated at the command, her lack of experience of playing cards further highlighted by Alex's blunt language. "That's it," Alex smiled. "Show me your cards," unfazed. Alex showed his cards and looks like she lost the game. They continued reading the book that they started a while ago. The hunger in his eyes was evident. She still couldn't believe this was happening, yet the heat was undeniable. "Where are your glasses for reading?" Alex barely registered her question, pulling his eyes off her before responding. "I don't use them." Then stepping forward, he continued reading the book. Lauren was taken aback and pulled away slightly. "We need glasses. I'm using glasses when I'm reading." Alex looked back up at her. "I don't care. Besides, you don't want to stop reading anyway." Slowly Alex continued reading another page. "Oh wow," she gasped. Alex was feeling excited. After a moment, he continued reading as he was really liking the book. "Ugh wow. I can't believe it," Lauren moaned. She couldn't deny the unique pleasure as she was reading books with a stranger. She'd never been so excited during reading with Andrew or anyone else. The feeling of added guilt and risk only seemed to amplify. Alex accelerated reading. Raising his voice, Alex said, "Now it's your turn to read. You like reading, don't you? Tell me. I want to hear you say it." "Yes, I really like reading, to be fair," Lauren gasped. "Reading with you feels good." "That's right. I knew you like it. I could tell this book is really interesting," Lauren screamed as she was not expecting that the plot of the story was so amazing. In an instant, she froze. Finally, Alex finished the book. "That book was amazing," he said, before grabbing his drink. Lauren lifted herself before rolling onto her back at the edge of the bed. She was exhausted yet still recovering. Alex stood in front of her. She immediately thought of Andrew. She'd have to brush him off for a few days. The sound of laughter and voices in the kitchen brought Lauren back to reality. Somehow, she just noticed that the door was slightly ajar and probably had been the whole time. Alex finished downing his drink and placed it on the bedside table. Speaking softly, Lauren asked, "Can you close that?" Her phone tumbling onto the floor. Reaching forward, Alex slowly stepping towards the door, he grasped the handle, opening it a few more inches, the conversation in the kitchen growing louder. Locking eyes with her, he reminded her, "I have another book about romance." "Alex, the door, please," Lauren remarked. Seemingly ignoring her, Alex moved to the bed and sat alongside her. She knew he was teasing her, having already noticed that she was interested in romance books, yet she couldn't resist him. Finally, Alex started reading the new book about romance. Make sure to like this video if you want the next part of the story.